everyone. Welcome to I Cook, You Measure. I'm your host, Jen Mueller, but today I am going to relinquish the cooking duties to somebody, well, who can cook, quite honestly, a lot better than I can. We are at Ascend Prime Steak and Sushi, and Chef Brandon, the executive chef, is going to join us for a little cooking, but we still have our guest measure, Tom Murphy, professional baseball player, Mariners catcher, and well-known foodie in the clubhouse, is going to be doing some measuring. Guys, thanks for joining us and making some time today.
Thanks for having me,
Thank
Jen.
you for having me.
Do you have any idea what we are going to be making today, Tom?
I have none.
You can't guess by what's on the table.
I can guess there's some red meat in front of me, but that's about it. The cut-wise, I'd be guessing on that right now.
Okay, well, here is what we are
Tenderloin,
going
maybe?
So what is it, chef?
So this is the complexus muscle, which is part of the ribeye. We're going to be making a wagyu beef tartare.
Beautiful.
So beef tartare is on the menu today. Also, I would expect a lot of conversation, I think, between these two, because there's already been conversation about the knives that they will be using. Absolutely gorgeous. You know, though, that we don't cook without wine. So I'm going to have Tom. You want to do the honors and open some wine? Out of all of the things, that's the one that's going to trip
It
you up?
scares me because I feel like there's like, some sort of like a special technique with wine, and I'm just brute force most of the time, So we'll see here.
I've chosen a Washington wine. This is a Barbera from Chandler Reach. I know that you can do a lot of different things. Champagne would be really good with steak tartare, but also when you start to get the egg yolk and the aioli in there, I wanted something that's a medium-bodied Barbera. So that's what we're going with.
Okay, chef. So if I had to open a bottle of wine properly.
This. Go ahead, chef. Just step it up, Tom. Use the leverage. Tom, leverage.
Leverage. See, already learning things.
Wait a minute. Do you regularly and successfully open a bottle of wine without using the opener like that?
I got to be honest with you, I'm not a big drinker, so my wine drinking happens maybe once or twice a year. So that's my fault. I'm more of the food guy.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pour just a little bit.
Cool.
We'll taste it. We'll see how that pairs a little bit later on. That'll open up nicely. I will move the bottle off to the side because I have a feeling that you guys are going to, do you want to try some now, or am I going to be the only one that's trying something now?
That.
Okay.
So even this, I'm a little confused by it, but
you're just opening it up a little bit. You're just opening
Central New York,
it up.
we didn't really have a lot of great wineries growing up or anything like that. We were more like, might heard like Coors Light.
Coors Light is yours?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, nice, soft.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys do the heavy work. I'm just gonna sit over here with a glass of wine and let you work. Let's move this off to the side. I am gonna hold this. Yep, perfect. Chef, I think you should probably take it from here, but Tom, I know that you are the foodie in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
My history with cooking kind of goes back with my family. I feel like, both my parents, my dad not so much, but my mom grew up as like the cook basically, and that came from her mom and her father. That side of the family, that's all we did. And I actually remember watching a ton of cooking shows with my mom growing up, and she's always helped me and had me involved in the kitchen. So really all my props start with her. They really do.
So where does this rank in terms of adventurous cooking for you, making a tartare?
Yeah, that's pretty big for us. We are always very bland, basic back home. I don't want to say bland, but very down home American type style cooking.
Comfort food, probably.
Exactly, a ton of comfort food. That's what my mom knows. She's always cooked for her army. She had 4 brothers growing up, so their meals were about sustainability more so than actual quality. But as I got older, the quality of the things I wanted to try and the adventureness kind of happened along with baseball as I kind of traveled the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. Chef, what do we got?
All right, so we're gonna start with this is the little side muscle from the cap, which is, I don't know, it's got the most beefy flavor, I think, and it's still really tender. So we're gonna start by removing some of the silver skin off the side here. Just take the point of the knife, slice it down.
Tom, you hunt, right?
I do. So wild game is a big part of my diet in the off season for sure. Mostly venison, but honestly, some of my favorite I've had is both elk and bear, black bear.
Black
Black
bear?
bear.
What do
Yes.
you make with black bear?
So I've heard a lot of different stories about black bear. Some people actually don't like it at all, and typically that's from a bear that's been around communities that have been kind of in dumps and trash and that sort of thing, and wouldn't you know it, they kind of taste like trash. So
You are what you eat, is
that's
what
right.
I've been told.
So,
Yeah.
so the bear I went after was actually, he was miles and miles away from any home or dwelling or anything like that. So he was just a forager for basically, we have cherry trees back home that they eat a lot of during the fall, and some wild berry bushes. So that's mostly what our bears eat. But that was probably some of my favorite wild game I've ever had, to be honest with you.
And then we'll just go ahead and cut that end right
Tell.
off. Perfect.
Yeah.
That
And I got a
knife
little
cuts like
trash in
butter,
there.
It does.
by the
It's
way.
amazing.
That-
I mean, the meat doesn't hurt either. You can tell, obviously, it's super high quality.
All right, now we're gonna take and we're gonna slice it, and then we're gonna brunoise. So
Okay.
we're just gonna small dice.
Wait, you're going to do what to this?
Yeah.
We're gonna brunoise.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I
it's
spent a
like-
lot of time in the kitchen. What does that mean?
It's a very small dice, very small uniform dice.
Okay.
Now, the uniform part of that could be the tricky
That's
part.
where I get-
That's
that's where I
why
get a
I
little
turn
lost.
this over to you today, Tom.
Okay.
All right, so we're just gonna take and cut at a 45-degree angle.
Well, Chef, I know when Tom got his start in the kitchen, what was the last sport you played?
The last sport I played a little baseball when I was much younger, probably like 8 years old. I was more of a band guy. I
Okay.
did a jazz band, played saxophone for a lot of years, a lot of years.
That's pretty awesome.
My forte.
When you did play baseball or
we can-
Little League, what position were you playing?
It was more for fun, not.
Well, I cook for fun, so that's kind of we're even, you know.
It's always a sport that I grew up in upstate New York, and I used to go across the border when the Montreal Expos were there.
Yeah.
And so I used to go see them every weekend, and it was just a lot of fun, just a lot of good memories.
So, what part of upstate New York are you from?
From Malone,
Okay,
Messina.
because I'm from north of Syracuse.
Really?
Yeah, that's where I live
That's
and grew
awesome.
up. That's pretty fun.
I moved from Syracuse about 13 years ago.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Small world.
It is
Never
a
would have
small
guessed
world.
that,
It's a
right?
bonding
Yeah.
moment. Who would have
Absolutely.
thought?
That's right.
That's awesome.
Look, sports bringing us together
That's right.
over food. I love this. Okay, next
So
steps here.
Now we're gonna just take and slice down. And as we kind of mix together all the other ingredients, it'll help to kind of break down the fat in the meat. So the actual uniformity of the dice is not as important,
Thank
honestly.
goodness. She gave me a lot of freedom there.
Yes.
Tom, I don't want to say that you're slow in cutting, but I'm watching Chef.
I'm just trying not to mess up here. This is the most nervous I think I've ever been cooking.
Chef, is there anything that would intimidate you to cook now?
Intimidate?
Yeah. Or like, do you look at everything as a challenge? Because there's a few things that if you handed it to me, I'd be like, ooh,
Yeah.
boy, I don't know
Like,
about
I don't know
that.
the first thing about souffle. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. You know, like, it just seems terrifying to me.
I think that some of the like really wild game, if you were to think about like snake or something along those lines, absolutely. I have no idea how to break that down, how to go and process anything like that. But I think that the challenge is the most fun part of it.
So, Chef, how did you go about, becoming a chef?
Yeah, from Malone, New York, because I can't. this transformation is pretty surprising to me because, Jen, you probably don't know, but Malone is it's a pretty desolate place.
Yeah, so there's not much going on there.
No, there's not. It's about as cold as it gets.
Yeah.
And the growing season is probably super short.
Yeah,
so
about 2
fresh
months,
produce.
yeah.
So like it's a tough area for a chef to come from.
I grew up, my mom cooked all the time, and I honestly, really, truthfully, never thought that I would be in culinary. I went to school for something, I went to school for, I at least started school for something a little different. Math and science is kind of my background. I ended up getting a job when I was in college, and it was a restaurant job, and I fell in love with it. I'm a very high energy. I love stress. I thrive in it in most cases, and so I think that I just continued to build and grow on that, and I'm a quick learner, and I just continued over the last 20 years, and here I am now.
That's sounds like you.
Yes,
Thrives
I
on
was gonna
stress,
say, I don't
loves
know about that,
stress.
but hey.
Like, invites that into your life.
You know, I think we probably both share something similar about where we come from. You know, it's like to make it out of the area that we come from, you have to really put in a lot of work, a lot of dedication. So I think that's something we always carry with us when we're from the Northeast and you grow up that environment. You know,
Absolutely.
For sure.
All right, now we're gonna cheat and we're gonna flip the board.
I love that.
And I am gonna set this off to the side. Sorry. All right, next we're gonna go ahead and get our accoutrement ready to go. Let's go ahead and brunoise some shallots. So same word again, we're gonna brunoise just.
Why don't we say dice? Because brunoise is smaller than a dice?
Brunoise is smaller than a dice, but also dice leaves a lot of variation. You know, there's a small dice, a large dice, a medium dice. A brunoise, you know it's gonna be very small.
I
Let's see how
did
small
not
we're
know
talking
that.
here.
I am fascinated by that. I've been using this wrong the entire time, but I did find out I was saying the words mise en place correctly earlier today.
That's
Impressive.
Very true.
Yeah, I've been guessing at that for a lot of years.
So we're gonna take and we're just gonna square this side off right here.
Yep.
Just square it off. And then you're gonna take your knife and I would square off the bottom as well. So that way it doesn't teeter on you at all. Perfect. And then you're gonna take and you're gonna make slices down, but don't cut all the way through the back. Slices down, and then you're gonna take and slice horizontally as well. And do like two cuts. So one here and then one down there.
Start at the top first.
Yes. And then same thing, don't go all the way through. And try to hold it together. And then as you get to where you made your incisions, just go ahead and save the rest. We'll use that for a stock later on.
Amazing.
Perfect. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and throw the shallots into our mix. Perfect. All right, next thing we're gonna do, pull this out because we're gonna add ingredients to that as well. But we're probably just gonna make one aioli. I think that should be plenty. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take some spruce tips.
Wait, where do we find spruce tips at? These look like they could have come out of the backyard.
I was gonna say,
I've
probably
never
right in
used
your backyard, Jen.
spruce tips.
From the first growth from springtime. These come from Oregon. They're clipped when they're fresh and then they're flash frozen.
Oh,
So that way they retain all of that same like really high intensity flavor. They're really citrusy. in
They
all
are?
honesty. Yeah, they're really
say, I feel
citrusy.
like I-
These ones are fresh, and then what we do is we dehydrate them, and it kind of brings out a lot more of the citrusy notes.
I would have guessed it would be more of like when you have a gin and tonic, not to
Right,
relate it
like
back
that
to alcohol or
piney-ness,
anything.
yeah.
I would think piney. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not think
The,
citrus.
the older, you know, after they grow and they go through a full season, they'll get more of that really pungent. This is like really, really fresh. Chop it down a little bit
Okay.
smaller, and we're gonna throw it into our aioli.
Should have went way finer with that.
Oh,
No, that's
totally
how
fine.
I would have done it too.
Right.
You know what's funny is that when I see that on my plate, I don't know why I assumed that it went through some sort of like processor of some
processor?
kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's somebody that actually just chopped all of that up.
Human processor. That's right.
Chef, when you cook at home, do you have to do the dishes?
Um,
Do you cook
No.
at home?
I used to cook a lot more at my house. I spend a lot of hours
I was
here.
gonna
So.
say,
Yeah.
probably limited time now, right? Yeah.
But I actually, when I do cook at home, I still truly enjoy it. And no, I do not have to wash dishes.
Do you have to wash the
I
dishes?
do. We have a good friend called a dishwasher too. That helps a lot. So it's always out of my mind. But I'm kind of a control freak when it comes to the kitchen. So
Yeah.
that's my area.
Okay.
You know, I got to keep it the way I'd like it.
All right, so now
All
we're
right,
gonna
let's
make
get some muscle to work here.
a little aioli. So we're just gonna whip this up. We're gonna add a little bit of salt. All right, so then I'll let you
Okay, so what do I
stir
need
that
to do?
around. So
stir
just stir it around. We're gonna drizzle in some oil. We're just gonna make a quick light aioli. So keep
So
that
you
rolling.
might, yeah, get that velo up. There we go. That's where we need like that rotational spin. Yes,
Spin rate.
spin rate. That's what I was trying to cross over sports there a little bit.
So my wife, she she thinks she's become this baking extraordinaire. So I'm gonna put her on blast a little bit here for the world to know. But you look at her food and her designs and her creations and stuff, you're like, man, this took a lot of time, a lot of effort. We've had more than a couple cakes that we've had to throw out though, even though they look amazing on birthdays and stuff. She's not a rule follower, and I feel like a lot of cooking is following a lot, especially baking, right? Like that is a science, like your background is science.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I hope that does not cause any problems for you when you go home.
No, it's just, it's always been a good laugh amongst our family, so we,
She's got the design element down.
she's a great, great creative person, for sure. Just doesn't exactly translate to taste sometimes. That's all.
Yeah, it is. That is kind of the thing with baking. You can fudge things on, no pun intended, on the cooking side of things. Baking's got to be pretty exact.
Yes.
Very precise.
Which
Do you have like a chef that you have for just the baked goods here? Or
Yeah, I
is
do.
that,
Yeah. I have a pastry chef for that. Absolutely. So we're gonna not add in all the oil so that it all comes together. I just want to be a little bit looser of a sauce.
Okay.
So let's go ahead
that's
and toss in probably half of that. Okay, that's good.
So when we add the lemon juice to it, that's partially going to break down those fibers as well.
Yes. The acid will help to kind of break down some of the enzymes, I guess, a little bit. And then we're going to take and throw in just a little bit of lemon zest.
So Chef, now we're at the part where you're just tasting to figure out what we're missing here.
Yeah, you get the kaffir lime that comes through and a little bit of acid. It was mainly just salt that it was missing. If you want to try that,
Yeah.
see where it's at.
I wouldn't dare suggest anything because it tastes amazing.
Was that good?
Yeah, exactly. It's an incredible dish.
I think it needs a little more salt still, though. All right, so when we're plating, we have our toasted brioche that's been toasted in a little bit of A5 tallow. So A5 that we break down in-house, render down the fat, and then re-solidify and just toast lightly.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it kind of reinforces some of that beef flavor. So what we're gonna do is take our 2 spoons
Thank you.
and we're gonna
This
really
is
just
where
kind
you're
of
really
fold it all
gelling.
together. Okay. This. And just pop it on.
Okay, so do this.
Perfect.
Chef, I know we've taken our time like in talking through this, but if you were making this because an order came in, how long would it take for you to put this together?
Yeah, good question.
About 5 minutes, probably something along those lines.
And true or false, you love to hear people say, yes, chef.
I do love it.
You have to, right?
I do.
That's what I would love too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You earn that. I mean, it's no different than calling a manager. You know, it's once you get to that position, it's all about respect.
Okay, we're just about ready to eat. We've had a great conversation about food, but now I'm going to put you both on the spots. It is virtual Master Chef. Now, I don't know how stressed out Chef would feel over this, but maybe Tom would sweat a little bit more. Virtual Master Chef works like this. I give you 5 ingredients. You tell me how you would put them together on the plates. You ready?
Perfect.
Tom, this one I did just for you.
Okay.
Flank steak,
Okay.
sun-dried tomatoes, ricotta cheese, zucchini, and red potatoes.
Oh man. So yeah, I'd probably have to make like this little summer side dish going on with the zucchini, the cheese, the tomatoes, maybe add a little oil in there, some sort of citrus, hopefully to bring it all together. The flank steak, you'd have to marinate in something. I'm not quite sure what we'd bring in for that one yet, but that would probably end up on the grill. And then potatoes, they go with the steak perfectly. They don't need much more. A little oil, a little salt, be good.
Chef, what would you do with those ingredients?
That sounds perfect. I would probably utilize the sun-dried tomatoes as part of the marinade for the flank steak because of the acid, and then some roasted baby potatoes, right? Roasted baby potatoes, and then I would probably do some sort of whip for the ricotta, and then use that as a garnish on the plate.
Ooh, that kicks it up a
Absolute
notch.
professional.
I wasn't even thinking about that. Okay, let's do one more set of ingredients. This one I might have made a little harder. I was thinking summery. Shrimp,
Yeah.
jicama, strawberries, cabbage, and quinoa.
Chef, what do you got?
Well, I would make some sort of kraut, probably, some sort of
Okay.
fermented cabbage. And then the jicama is good because it has a nice texture to it. And you said strawberries?
Yes.
All right. So a strawberry gelée to
Ooh.
go along with probably some sort of marinated jicama to go along with the prawn.
Oh.
And what was the last ingredient?
Quinoa.
Quinoa, some crispy quinoa. So cooked and then slow baked and then used as a garnish for texture.
Nice. Never tried quinoa that one.
I hadn't thought of it.
I'm lost on that one, Jen. I'd follow his direction. You
know what? So I will say I was trying to up the ante on that one. You know what I kind of started to think? A shrimp cake. So if you do the quinoa, the shrimp together, maybe a little cabbage, and then a salad of jicama and strawberry on the side as like a summer dish.
I like it.
That would be
Which
good.
is not
If you
nearly
throw
as
some watermelon in there, that would be
Ooh.
perfect.
Not nearly as elevated as chef, but you know, I can't. I
He's the
can't
pro
compare.
here, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why I relinquished the cooking duties today.
Exactly.
This looks beautiful, but it looks like you're also going to add something else to it. So what happens now that we've got this plated?
All right, so we'll throw in a couple of garnishes. One of them, because there's always some form of yolk that goes along with a beef tartare. In this case, I sous vide duck yolks, and then I separate the white, and I take and pass the yolks through a chinois, which is just a really fine strainer, and add in a little bit of salt and pepper, and that really intensifies kind of the umami and the richness and the creaminess of the beef, kind of plays really well together. And then I am going to finish with a couple of microgreen garnishes. One of them,
Those colors
I
are.
love this one
yeah,
right here.
yeah,
Incredible.
absolutely. For amaranth, a touch of sweetness, and then the nasturtium is going to add just a little bit of spice to go along. So we'll go ahead and finish with a couple of dollops.
What's your preferred salt for the restaurant that you usually go to?
Balinese sea salt.
What's your preferred
I'm
salt at
always
home?
interested in salts and stuff. I actually had
This
this
one
new
is
stuff
very
that I
good.
found that it had like truffle within the salt.
Oh.
So I've been using some of that. It's okay. I need to really up my salt game though. That's one for sure that when you have a good salt, it just kind of
Yeah.
brings everything together, right?
The bigger the flake, the better, in all honesty. Except
Interesting.
for this one specifically, is only comes in that size. But it is, you really taste so many other nutrients than just the salt.
Right.
It's like really well-rounded, really, really well-rounded. I love it a lot.
Well-rounded salt.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Please,
guys,
Jen,
you
go
do.
ahead. You're first, ladies.
Okay. Let's see.
I'm going for it.
Those flavors are amazing.
Appreciate it, Chef. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so good. I mean, it's just incredible.
Oh my gosh.
The bread texture at the bottom is perfect too with it. And it's just like, it goes really well.
And the aioli, like the way that all of that beef came together, it's creamy. Like you wouldn't normally say that about beef, but that's creamy.
Very creamy, yeah.
Yeah, if you were to close your eyes and take a bite of it, you would have no clue of what it actually
Yeah.
started out as. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible.
Ah,
Truly is.
that is beautiful. Well done, guys. Well done. And with the wine,
Yes, absolutely.
that was a good bite.
Very special.
Well, this has been a special episode, special time to hang out with you guys and find the common bond in New York. That was an unforeseen surprise. As you know, for every episode of I Cook, You Measure, a donation is made to a nonprofit working to end food insecurity. At the end of season 2, which is where we are now, we are proud to make a donation of $3,750. And we thank Ascend Hospitality Group, AHG Cares, and Safeway for coming alongside us in those efforts. And guys, for season 1 and season 2, I am really proud to say that we have donated $7,500 to those efforts. So it is really cool that we get to help others while we're having a good time together, which I think it was a good time together.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
I wouldn't say that. You can tell which ones I chopped here. I can't remember what ingredient that is, but it's way
The
bigger than
kefir
his.
line?
It's sticking
Oh.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
That looks awesome.
I Cook, You Measure is presented by Ascend Hospitality Group, a Black and female-led independent restaurant group based in Bellevue, Washington. The collection of concepts proudly employs more than 700 people in Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Arizona. Committed to elevating the communities it serves, AHG invests wholly in both its team members and its guests to take service to the next level. Learn more at ascendhg.com.